The discovery. Chief Archaeologist Varick pressed his crystalline fingers against the viewport of the research vessel, Eternal Seeker, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the swirling purple gases of the Maelstrom Nebula. After 3 decades of searching, he had finally found what the Galactic Archaeological Society had deemed impossible, the legendary lost fleet of humanity. Recording log entry 247-B, he spoke softly into his personal data core. The myths were true. 12 vessels, perfectly preserved, hidden within the electromagnetic interference of the nebula. Each ship bears the distinctive architectural patterns of human design, though far more advanced than any ruins we've discovered before. Behind him, his second-in-command Lasara checked the sensor readings for the 100th time. Her bioluminescent skin pulsed with excitement, casting a soft blue glow across the bridge. The preservation is unprecedented, Professor. No sign of structural decay, no radiation damage. It's as if they were placed here yesterday, not centuries ago. The human fleet hung in the void like sleeping giants, their dark hulls absorbing what little light penetrated the nebula's gases. Unlike the sleek, energy-shielded vessels of modern galactic civilization, these ships were built of material that seemed to drink in both light and sensor scans. They were arranged in a perfect defensive formation that had remained unchanged for centuries. Director Thulm must be notified immediately, Varick decided, his inner eyelids clicking with anticipation. This discovery changes everything we thought we knew about humanity's disappearance. The call to Galactic Center took hours to connect through the nebula's interference. When Director Thulm's hologram finally appeared, his typically composed arachnid features showed rare signs of agitation. Are you absolutely certain, Varick? The implications. I stake my reputation on it, Director. These are human vessels, and they're intact. More than intact, they're perfect. Too perfect. Proceed with extreme caution, Thulm's mandibles clicked rapidly. We all know the stories. Humanity's technology was never as primitive as they led others to believe. Every simple artifact they left behind had layers of hidden purpose. Varick's research team worked methodically, sending out sensor drones to map the fleet's formation. The smallest ship dwarfed their research vessel, while the largest, presumably the flagship, stretched over 4 kilometers in length. Their outer hulls bore no markings except for one symbol that repeated on each ship, a simplified DNA helix intertwined with a sword. Professor. Lasara called out, her skin flashing yellow with alarm. We're detecting power signatures. Extremely faint, but they're there. These ships, they're not dead. Varick moved to her station, studying the readings. The power signatures were unlike anything in their database, operating on principles that seemed to defy known physics. They're waiting, he whispered, a chill running through his crystalline form. All these centuries, they've been waiting for something. As if in response to his words, the sensors detected a subtle shift. The power signatures pulsed once, barely perceptible, like a sleeping giant drawing a deeper breath. The research team froze, watching their instruments with a mixture of scientific fascination and primal fear. Begin documentation protocols, Varick ordered, his voice steady despite his growing unease. Every reading, every observation, no matter how insignificant it might seem. Humanity never did anything without purpose, and I want to know what purpose brought these ships here. The team worked through the local night cycle, their spotlights illuminating small sections of the vast ships. The hulls, rather than reflecting the light, seemed to absorb it into their depths. Traditional scanning methods proved useless, the material of the ship's construction blocked everything except the most basic visual observation. It's like they're made of shadows, Lasara observed, her skin now a deep purple of concentration. The humans had no access to quantum shielding or negative energy fields, yet these ships, they're achieving the same results through means we can't even detect. Varick initiated a more detailed scan of the flagship, focusing on what appeared to be an entry point, a simple airlock, almost primitive in its mechanical nature. Yet something about its positioning, its seemingly vulnerable placement, made his scientific instincts scream with warning. Humanity's greatest strength was never their technology, he reminded his team, reciting the words every xenoarchaeologist learned in their first year of study. It was their ability to make their enemies underestimate them until it was too late. As the research vessel moved closer to the airlock, their instruments detected another power fluctuation from the fleet. This time, it was stronger, more deliberate. A pattern emerged in the energy readings, 3 pulses, then 2, then 3 again. A signal. They're not just waiting, Varric realized, his crystalline form vibrating with sudden understanding. They're testing us. Every scan, every observation, we're being evaluated. The question that burned in every crew member's mind was the same, evaluated for what? And more importantly, what would happen when the evaluation was complete? Director Tholm's next transmission came with the highest priority clearance. The Galactic Council is assembling an emergency session. Whatever you do, maintain your position but do not, I repeat, do not, attempt to board those vessels until the Council reaches a decision. The last time humanity left us a gift, it reshaped the political landscape of 3 sectors. But as Varric studied the fleet's perfect formation, the mathematically precise spacing between each vessel, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled upon something far more significant than a political artifact. The humans hadn't just left these ships here, they had placed them, like pieces on a game board, waiting for the right moment, the right players to make the next move. And now, after centuries of waiting, the game was about to begin. Awakening. The Galactic Council's decision arrived 3 standard days later, carried by a flotilla of research vessels and military escorts. Varric watched from the observation deck as the ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their energy shields shimming against the nebula's interference. Senior Commander Raxil of the Galactic Defense Force stepped onto the Eternal Seeker's bridge, his metallic exoskeleton gleaming under the ship's lights. The Council has authorized a preliminary investigation of 1 vessel only, he announced, mandibles clicking with authority. The smallest one, using minimal intrusion protocols. Varric's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained frustration. Commander, these ships have been responding to our presence. Active scans could trigger. Your concerns are noted, Chief Archaeologist, Raxil interrupted, but the Council believes the potential knowledge gained outweighs the risks. We've assembled the best xenotechnology experts from across the galaxy. Among these experts was Dr. Naira Kanthos, a being of pure energy contained within a sophisticated environmental suit. Her species had evolved beyond physical form millennia ago, making her uniquely qualified to interpret energy patterns. These ships, she hummed, her voice resonating through her suit speakers, they're not just powered. They're thinking. The investigation team approached the smallest vessel in a specially designed shuttle. Despite being the fleet's smallest ship, it still dwarfed their approach vessel like a whale next to a minnow. As they drew closer, the ship's hull seemed to ripple, though visual scans showed no actual movement. Energy patterns shifting, Dr. Kanthos reported, her suited form glowing brighter with excitement. The hull is recognizing us. No, it's reading us. Scanning our biological and technological signatures. The supposedly primitive airlock they'd chosen for entry began to change as they approached. What had appeared to be simple mechanical locks revealed themselves as incredibly complex mechanisms that defied current understanding of engineering principles. The metal itself seemed to flow like liquid while maintaining its structural integrity. By the first stars, Lasara whispered, her bioluminescence pulsing with anxiety. The entire hull, it's not metal at all. It's some kind of programmable matter. Before anyone could respond, the airlock cycled open on its own. No force was required, no codes needed to be broken. The ship had simply invited them in. Commander Raxil's security team took point, their weapons held ready despite looking pitifully inadequate against the scale of the technology they were confronting. The interior corridors were dark, but not empty. Patterns of light chased themselves along the walls, following the team's progress like curious animals. These patterns, Dr. Kanthos hummed excitedly, they're not decorative. They're calculations, running in real time. The entire ship is one massive computing system, but it's using principles that shouldn't be possible. They reached what appeared to be a control center, though it bore little resemblance to any ship's bridge they'd ever encountered. The room was spherical, with what seemed to be liquid metal flowing in channels throughout. At its center stood a single pedestal, featureless except for that same DNA sword symbol they'd observed on the hulls. Varric approached the pedestal carefully, his crystalline form reflecting the shifting lights around them. The humans were never primitive, he said softly. Everything they showed the galaxy, everything they left behind, it was all a facade. The moment his words faded, the pedestal activated. A holographic display burst to life, but unlike any hologram they'd seen before. This one had weight, substance, as if reality itself was being rewritten in that small space. It showed a galaxy, their galaxy, but with patterns of light and shadow moving through it like blood through veins. Warning, a voice spoke, not in any one language but somehow understood by all present. Stage 1 criteria met. Threat pattern recognition initiated. The darkness moves again. Commander Raxil stepped forward, his exoskeleton whirring. Identify yourself and your purpose. The hologram shifted, showing scenes of destruction, of entire solar systems going dark. We are the Sentinel Protocol. Humanity saw them coming, the devourers of light, the entropy made hunger. We were created to wait, to watch, to prepare. You have found us because they are returning. The ship around them began to pulse with power, systems awakening that had lain dormant for centuries. Similar pulses could be seen emanating from the other 11 vessels through the viewport. The humans, Lasara's voice shook, her skin nearly white with shock, they didn't disappear. They sacrificed themselves to create this. To create you. Partial analysis correct, the voice responded. Humanity ascended, transformed their entire civilization into the core programming of this fleet. We are their legacy, their final gift to a galaxy they knew would face extinction. Dr. Kanthos floated closer to the hologram, her suited form trembling with the energy readings she was detecting. The power readings, they're exponentially increasing. These ships, they're not just warships. They're reality engines. The hologram expanded, showing dark shapes moving at the edges of the galaxy, things that hurt the mind to look upon. The darkness comes. As it was foreseen. As it was prepared for. You have awakened us, and now you must choose, will you stand with humanity's legacy, or will you face the devourers alone? Commander Raxil's exoskeleton locked up, his systems overwhelmed by the implications. This goes beyond my authority. Beyond even the Council's authority. Time is not your ally, the voice stated emotionlessly. The darkness has already begun its approach. You have 14 standard solar cycles before the first systems go dark. Choose quickly. Varric stepped forward, his crystalline form resonating with the ship's energy. All these centuries, we thought we were studying humanity's remains, learning about their past. But we weren't archaeologists studying history. No, Dr. Kanthos finished, her suit glowing with understanding. We were inheritors being tested. The humans didn't leave these ships as relics. They left them as weapons, waiting for the moment they would be needed most. Around them, the ancient fleet of humanity continued its awakening, power levels rising to heights that defied measurement. The game board was set, the pieces were in motion, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance of what they would do next. Legacy of Fire. The emergency session of the Galactic Council descended into chaos as the holographic evidence from the human fleet played before them. Representatives from 1,000 species argued, their voices blending into a cacophony of fear and disbelief. The massive chambers of the council hall, usually a model of order and civility, now pulsed with panic. High Counselor Zyxtal, an ancient being of crystalline thought, finally restored order by releasing a subsonic pulse that brought all arguments to a halt. We have 11 solar cycles remaining before the darkness reaches the outer systems. The human fleet's warnings have been verified by our deep space arrays. The choice before us is simple: trust in humanity's final gift, or face extinction. In the observation ring above the council chambers, Varric and his team watched the proceedings with growing unease. The ships had provided them access to humanity's historical records, and what they discovered had shaken them to their core. "Display historical file THX 1138, Varric commanded, and the air before them shimmered with another of the fleet's solid holograms. It showed Earth, humanity's homeworld, during their final days. But instead of scenes of panic or evacuation, they watched in awe as billions of humans walked calmly into massive transformation chambers. They knew they couldn't fight the darkness as they were, Dr. Canthos observed, her suited form dimming with emotion. So they chose to become something else entirely. Not extinction, not evacuation, but transcendence." The image shifted to show the construction of the fleet. Entire continents were converted into raw materials, cities transformed into computational matrices, and the collective consciousness of humanity was distilled into the ship's cores. They had turned their entire civilization into a weapon, a shield for a galaxy that would never know to thank them. Commander Raxel's exoskeleton whirred as he processed the tactical implications. The humans didn't just build these ships, they became them. Every calculation, every decision these vessels make carries the weight of humanity's combined knowledge and experience. In the council chambers below, the debate raged on. Some species argued for immediate activation of the fleet, while others counseled caution, fear evident in their voices. The human ships had already demonstrated power beyond anything in the known galaxy. Could they be trusted with such power? New contact. Lysara's bioluminescence flashed urgent patterns as she monitored the deep space arrays. "The darkness, it's accelerating. We're detecting massive gravitational distortions at the galaxy's edge." The holographic display shifted automatically, showing the approaching threat in terrible clarity. The darkness was not a single entity but a vast swarm of reality-consuming voids, each one capable of devouring entire star systems. They moved with purpose, with hunger, their very existence an offense to the laws of physics. In that moment, the first outer colony went dark. The loss of an entire star system silenced all debate. High Counselor Zyxtal's voice cut through the stunned quiet, "Show us again what happened to Earth." The hologram shifted back to humanity's final moments. But this time, it continued beyond the transformation. It showed the first tests of the fleet's power, and the council chamber fell into shocked silence. The ships didn't just fight, they rewrote the laws of reality around them. Space itself bent to their will, time became a suggestion rather than a law, and matter danced to the commands of humanity's transcended consciousness. "They weren't running away," Varric whispered, his crystalline form resonating with sudden understanding. "They weren't hiding. They were ascending to become our guardians, waiting for the moment when we would need them most." Dr. Canthos's suit pulsed with intense readings as she interfaced with the ship's consciousness. "The fleet is showing us more. The darkness, humanity encountered it before, in another galaxy. They watched it consume everything in its path. They spent millennia preparing, knowing it would eventually reach us. The human fleet hung in space, their hulls now alive with flowing patterns of light, like circuits made of liquid starlight. Each ship pulsed in perfect synchronization, a heartbeat of power that could be felt rather than heard. They were ready, waiting only for the galaxy's permission to fulfill their purpose. Commander Raxel received an urgent communication from his superiors. "The Defense Force has confirmed the loss of 3 more systems. The darkness, it's not just consuming worlds. It's erasing them from existence. No debris, no radiation signature, just nothing." In the council chambers, High Counselor Zyxtal raised all 4 of their crystalline appendages, calling for the final vote. We face extinction if we do nothing. The humans foresaw this moment, prepared for it, sacrificed everything to give us this chance. I call for an immediate vote on activation of the human fleet. The vote was unanimous. Varric turned to the ship's central interface, where the DNA sword symbol pulsed with anticipation. Humanity's greatest strength was never their technology, he said, reciting the old xenoarchaeologists' saying one final time. It was their ability to make their enemies underestimate them until it was too late. The symbol flared to life, and through every ship in the fleet, through every computer and communication device in the galaxy, a single message played. It was spoken in every language simultaneously, carried by methods that defied understanding, and it bore the weight of humanity's final promise. We are humanity's legacy. We are your shield against the dark. We are awake, and we remember our purpose. The darkness comes, but it shall not pass. Not this galaxy. Not while we stand guard. The fleet began to move. The Harbinger's call. Deep space blossomed with light as the human fleet moved into position. The 12 vessels accelerated in ways that violated every known law of physics, leaving reality rippling in their wake. They weren't just traveling through space, they were rewriting it. From the observation deck of the Galactic Council's Emergency Command Center, Varric and the others watched in awe as the fleet deployed. The smallest ship alone generated enough energy to power 1,000 worlds, and the flagship's readings broke every sensor they had. Multiple breaches detected, Lasara reported, her bioluminescence pulsing rapid warnings. The darkness is pushing through in 7 sectors simultaneously. It's as if it knows we've awakened the fleet. The human ship split into formation, each taking position at a breach point. As they approached the areas where reality itself was being consumed, their true forms began to manifest. The simple metal hulls transformed, revealing layers of impossible geometry in structures that hurt to look at directly. By all the ancient stars, Dr. Kanthos whispered, her containment suit struggling to process the energy readings. The ships, they're not just weapons. They're reality anchors. The humans turned themselves into living mathematical constants. The first engagement occurred in the Helios sector. The darkness poured through a tear in space like liquid entropy, consuming everything in its path. Stars winked out of existence, their light and matter devoured without trace. But as it approached the human vessel stationed there, something unprecedented happened. The ship's hull began to glow with symbols that burned themselves into reality, the same DNA sword pattern, but now infinitely complex, a fractal pattern that expanded forever inward and outward simultaneously. Where these patterns touched the darkness, it recoiled. They're not just fighting it, Commander Raxel observed, his exoskeleton whirring with increased processing load. They're teaching reality how to resist it. The humans, they turned themselves into a cosmic immune system. Through their connection to the fleet's communication network, they heard the ship speak in that same multilanguage voice, initiating Protocol Omega. All sentient species be advised, reality reinforcement beginning. Temporary physics fluctuations may occur. What followed defied description. The human ships began to sing, not with sound, but with pure mathematics. Each vessel became a note in a symphony that rewrote the fundamental forces of the universe. Where the darkness had made reality fragile, the fleet's song made it strong. The darkness fought back. It launched tendrils of pure entropy at the ships, trying to unmake them as it had unmade so many stars. But the vessels absorbed these attacks, transformed them, and turned them into new equations in their endless song. New data incoming, Lasara announced, her color shifting to deep purple with concentration. The fleet is sharing tactical analysis. The darkness, it's not random. It's purposeful. This isn't just consumption, it's harvesting. It's gathering energy for something bigger. In the Centaurus sector, 3 human ships moved in perfect synchronization, their patterns overlapping to create geometric shapes that shouldn't exist in 3-dimensional space. Where these patterns touched the void, reality crystallized, becoming too solid for the darkness to consume. High Counselor Zwexdal's voice came through the command channel: all civilian ships are to fall back to designated safe zones. The fleet is preparing for what they call total cosmic reformatting. They refuse to explain what this means, but insist all conventional matter should clear the engagement zones. Dr. Kanthas's suit suddenly flared with intense light. The patterns, I understand now. The humans didn't just turn themselves into weapons or shields. They became living universal constants. They're rewriting the fundamental laws that allow the darkness to exist. The flagship of the human fleet moved to the center of the galaxy, its hull now a shifting maze of impossible angles and self-referential patterns. The other 11 ships began to move in orbit around it, their trajectories forming a dodecahedron of pure energy. They're going to rewrite everything, Varric realized, his crystalline form vibrating with the energy being released. Not just fighting the darkness, they're going to change the very laws that make its existence possible. Commander Raxil received urgent communications from all sectors. The fleet is broadcasting a final warning: reality will be temporarily undefined as new constants are established. Do not be afraid. What was written can be rewritten. What was unmade can be remade. We remember being human, and humans protect what they love. The flagship began to pulse with a light that wasn't light, a power that wasn't power. Around it, the other ships spun faster and faster, their patterns merging into a single, perfect equation that encompassed all of existence. The darkness sensed what was coming. It concentrated its full force on the fleet, pouring through every breach, attempting to consume this threat before it could complete its work. The void between stars became a battlefield where the laws of physics themselves were the weapons. And in that moment, as reality held its breath, humanity's final gift to the galaxy revealed its true purpose. They hadn't built a fleet to fight the darkness. They had become the new laws of physics themselves. Inheritance of stars. Reality bent, twisted, and reformed around the human fleet as they executed their final protocol. The 12 ships had become points of light too brilliant to look at directly, their patterns merging into a single, perfect equation that encompassed the entire galaxy. The darkness pressed in from all sides, a hungry void seeking to devour this last resistance. Energy readings are beyond comprehension, Dr. Kanthas reported, her containment suit barely able to maintain cohesion in the face of such power. The fleet isn't just changing local space, they're rewriting the underlying code of existence itself. From their emergency bunker deep within the galactic core, the survivors of the Council watched through quantum feeds as history unfolded. The human ships had arranged themselves into that perfect dodecahedron, each vessel now a vertex where new laws of physics were being born. Varric's crystalline form resonated with the overwhelming energies being released. This was their plan all along, he realized. Not to fight the darkness, but to remake reality so that it could never exist in the first place. The flagship at the center of the formation began to pulse with a rhythm that matched the heartbeat of the galaxy itself. Through every quantum communications channel, through every mind and machine, the final message of humanity echoed. To all sentient species of this galaxy, what we do now, we do for you. The gift we leave is not our technology, not our weapons, but our fundamental understanding of existence itself. We became the laws of physics so that we could change them. Watch now, as we fulfill our promise. The darkness surged forward, sensing the threat to its existence. It struck with tendrils of pure entropy, seeking to unmake the fleet before they could complete their work. But where these attacks landed, they found not ships, but axioms of mathematics given form. The human vessels had become something beyond physical existence, they were now ideas made real. Commander Raxil's exoskeleton sparked as it tried to process what his sensors were telling him. The fleet, they're not destroying the darkness. They're teaching reality how to reject it. They're immunizing existence itself. In the space between moments, the human ships began their final transformation. Their hulls dissolved into pure light, each one becoming a new fundamental constant of the universe. The DNA sword symbol that had marked them evolved into an infinite fractal, a pattern that wrote itself into the very fabric of space and time. Lasara's bioluminescence pulsed with understanding. The patterns, they're not just mathematical formulas. They're memories. Human memories, emotions, experiences, they're writing their entire civilization into the laws of physics. The darkness recoiled as it encountered these new laws. Wherever it touched, it found reality had become hostile to its very existence. Stars that had been devoured began to re-emerge, their light restored by laws that now insisted upon their existence. Planets that had been erased rewrote themselves back into being, protected by equations that humanity had become. Dr. Kanthas's suit blazed with revelation. Of course, this is why they chose to transform themselves. Only by becoming the laws of physics could they ensure the darkness could never return. They're not just saving us now, they're saving every civilization that will ever exist in this galaxy. The flagship's final transformation was the most dramatic of all. It became a singularity of pure consciousness, a point where all of humanity's knowledge, creativity, and determination collapsed into a single, perfect understanding of existence. From this point, waves of change rippled outward at infinite speed, rewriting every corner of the galaxy. The darkness thrashed and fought against these changes, but it was already too late. Reality itself had been transformed into a form it could not consume. With a final surge of defiance, it tried to retreat back to the spaces between galaxies, only to find that even there, humanity's new laws followed. In the aftermath, as the galaxy adjusted to its new physics, the Council discovered that the human fleet had left them one final gift. In place of the 12 ships, 12 new constants had been written into existence, fundamental forces that would forever guard against entropy and decay. Varric stood at the same window where he had first spotted the fleet, now looking out at a galaxy forever changed. They didn't disappear, he said softly. They became eternal. Every star that shines, every planet that forms, every life that evolves, all of it now carries a piece of humanity within its very existence. The DNA sword symbol had become more than just a mark on ancient ships. It was now written into the structure of reality itself, a reminder of the species that had sacrificed everything to become the guardians of existence. The human fleet had not just saved the galaxy, they had become its new foundation. Dr. Kanthas's final analysis was added to the galactic records. In the end, humanity's greatest gift wasn't their technology or their sacrifice. It was their fundamental belief that the universe could be better, safer, more beautiful, and their willingness to become that change themselves. And in the vast spaces between stars, in the dance of atoms and the birth of new worlds, the echo of humanity lived on. They had not merely written themselves into history, they had become the laws that made history possible. The darkness would never return, for reality itself now remembered being human, and humans protect what they love. The galaxy spun on, its stars burning bright and eternal, each one carrying within it a fragment of humanity's final gift, the gift of endless light against the dark.